I think by looking after yourself and replenishing, we're better able to worship the Lord and to love the Lord our God with all our heart, mind, and soul. Okay, so I'm loving our Summer Sabbath series. And the reason I love it more than anything is, of course, we all know that Sabbath and rest is so important and so crucial and part of God's divine rhythm. But what I love about all of our women is that there is no one right way. No one's going fit into this formula. We have got married women, single women, women with children, women that work full time, women that work in schools, women that work in the corporate sector, women in full-time vocational ministry. So there can't be a one size fits all. And I know for so many working women, the whole concept of Sabbath or the how-to of Sabbath, it's such a point of tension. And in fact, they spend so much time stressed that they don't even end up having a Sabbath because they feel so guilty, even on their Sabbath, about the fact that they're not doing the Sabbath right. So this is the Sabbath series that's going to set you free. There is no legalism in this. We are actually just interviewing so many different women, all dear friends of mine, that are just achieving incredible things within their realm and their sphere of influence, that all of us, none of us would say we have got this down perfectly. All of us are on a journey. So we want to give you a permission to be on a journey. And my friend Rosilyn, who you all loved so much, and yes, we are getting her back, don't worry, for more and more leadership principles. And she's about to finish her book. So I cannot wait for her to be on here and talk about that. So Rosilyn, here we are, and here you are in the corporate world, and you've got to work, I think to say 70 hours a week for the average person in a C-suite is probably not an exaggeration. Certainly everyone that I know works at least that, to be honest. And yet God commands us to rest. Sabbath rest is crucial. It's part of the rhythm of God. So our to-do list doesn't go away. The corporation doesn't stop. The stock market doesn't stop. And yet somewhere you've got to deliver your quarterly results and you're supposed to have a Sabbath. How does all this work for someone like you?
It's absolutely incredible. You mentioned earlier the guilt that we feel when we know we need to slow down or we need to step away. It's almost like we are obsessed. We cannot do it, right? And for me, what it looks like, it's looking a lot better right now because I can talk the talk, but I could never walk the walk. Okay. So, when you know the right thing to do, but you
Yep.
just never do it because it
It's
doesn't
worse when
apply to
you're a
you.
preacher. Yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
it
yes.
applies to everybody else, right?
Yeah.
So, one of the things that I need the listeners to understand is there's something called the pause, right? This is what the Holy Spirit has revealed to me because I was the number one poster child for just not stopping. Do not push past the pause. This is critical because we have to be sustainable as a person. Just like your organizations and company, you do all these things to secure your sustainability. So you're here long into the future. Well, if we continue to push past the pause when we're mentally exhausted, physically exhausted, emotionally exhausted, and just keep pushing, something's going to break. And I know sometimes we feel like Jesus Christ Jr., okay? But we have limitations. We're mere mortals. So you cannot continue to push past the pause. And please understand, ladies, I'm preaching to myself because I have done this over and over and over again. And so, most recently, when the Holy Spirit convicted me and said, well, how are you going to be any good to your organization, to your teammates, to your employees, to your family? Because you know what, Roz? I can't use you broken down. And I said, my God, I was never thinking like that. I was only thinking that I need to be there. I must be there. Yes, other people can do my job. Yes, I can delegate it, but they're counting on me. And we were applauded for this type of thinking and behavior for years and years and years. But at the end of the day, you're no good to anyone or any organization if you're broken. So do not push past the pause. And how you do that is when you fully realize that I am worth sustaining. And so I'm going to prioritize myself as I prioritize my duties and responsibilities in the workplace, at home, in ministry. I must become a priority. Otherwise, I will not be here long into the future. And if I am here, I will be diminished in capacity. So step away. You're worth it.
Yeah,
You must love yourself and definitely give yourself a time to rest, restore, and revive.
I hear 100% how correct you are in what you're saying. And yet every like bit of the Midwestern hospitality that I was raised in says, but how can I push past the pause? Because that means I'm going to have to ask for help. That means I'm going to have to reach out to somebody, but I'm being a nuisance. I'm being a bother, because we feel like we have to do things ourselves. We feel like I can't call in help for childcare, or I said I would help run that event. I'm going to let everybody down if I don't. Like all of those thoughts creep in, right?
Mhm.
So what do you say to me when I'm
That's
like,
right.
but Rosalind, they're depending on me. How do I silence that inner voice? Because I know that voice isn't Jesus, but it's
No,
really loud.
it is very loud and it's all us. And so we have to understand where that voice is coming from. And oftentimes it's feeding something deeper in us to be everything to everybody. And that's something we have to sit with and we need to explore like what's driving that. Because that voice was so loud to me that I have worked from my laptop from hospital rooms, whether it was me in the bed or loved ones in the bed. Seriously, it's bad. So I know that voice very loud. I have popped up in that laptop and at 3 and 4 in the morning, all these things that are just not healthy for us. So, where is that coming from? And we have to sit with that. What is that satisfying, that need to feel wanted, and that only your hand can prevail in a situation? And I also think that when we consider the fact that if we do break, whether it's emotionally or physically, then are you letting people down worse when you're broken? Or are you letting them down least when you're just restoring and reviving and can come back and take the helm and take them further? Number two, especially as leaders, I think that the quality of your leadership is tested when you do step away. Because then you'll understand that, am I just working like, is this my ego that I am not training people? I am not developing people. I'm truly not delegating because I'm overshadowing people. Therefore, they're not growing and expanding in their full capacity. And so if you step away and then the train keeps moving, give yourself a round of applause because that's exactly the type of leader that you need to be. A poor leadership quality is when you step away and the train leaves the track. So ask yourself, when you're like really like binging on it's got to be me, it got to be me. Like, have I fully prepared my team to execute? Then you could say, yes, well, you know what? I have. Then you can take a pause, take a breath, and say, I'm worth this. I've got to step away because I can be a better me. And when I'm a better me, when I'm relaxed, revived, and restored, I can be a better leader. I could be a better minister. I could be a better wife. I could be a better mother. Every aspect of who you are will be enriched when you're in a place of wholeness. And so I think that when you think of that way, it will free you and allow you to do those things like, yes, receive the help because I know people are asking you, how can I help?
I
Okay.
love what you're saying,
I
Rosalind.
know they are.
I'm going, okay, so say that I'm a single mum. I've got 2
Mhm.
kids. I've got to get them through school and I've got a full-time job and there's no one. I've got to get the groceries and, get everything sort of sorted. What does Sabbath look like for that woman?
Well, I know that story well. I was, raised by a single mother, with 4 girls at home and a son. And I've been a single mother, of an infant and had to work and put food on the table and try to go to school and do all these things. And it's not easy, but simple Sabbaths that maybe you can't have a girlfriend's getaway weekend. Maybe you can't head to the spa like some other people can. But you know what? It was a time in my life where I created a Sabbath in my bathroom. I bought candles from a thrift store. I put on some smooth jazz. I put some bubble bath in that water And I literally created a Sabbath right where I am. So it looks different for everyone, but even the smallest bit of self love and self care will go a long, long way for you.
I love that. Okay, we're all going to get candles and we're going to run a bath. That is like absolutely awesome. And that focused, intentional time on Jesus. I think by looking after yourself and replenishing, we're better able to worship the Lord and to love the Lord our God with all our heart, mind, and soul. Because the more whole we are, the more capacity we have to be able to truly love Him and then love our neighbor as we love ourselves. I think it all feeds into each other. I'm just thinking, did you throughout your busiest seasons, or even now you're in them at work, do you prioritize like an entire day away? Do you whatever? I'm not saying away, but it could be anything. But a day, an hour, half a day. I mean, what does Sabbath look like for a corporate executive?
Right. And I think for a corporate executive, it looks so different. I mean, like for me and my schedule, I mean, I really don't even have a chance to go to the bathroom. I tell my executive assistant, I got to walk down the hall, use the bathroom and come back. You're like, could you give me time to brush my teeth after lunch? I mean, literally, it's like there's no worse feeling being late all the time, but you're just trying to do the basic duties of life, right? So your schedule is jam packed. Forget meetings every 30 minutes. I mean, it could be every 20-minute on rotation, someone's
Wow.
in your face. Literally, it could be very intense. So there is a strategy to sustainability and self care. And I learned this later on in my career leadership roles. But just making sure that when you do prioritize yourself as a corporate executive, that when you sit down with your executive assistant to actually look at your schedule, make sure you're in the priority. So your assistant is just focused on the task, what people want. And what I found is people want what they want. Nobody's thinking about you having to go pee. Nobody's thinking about you just trying to go get a cup of tea. No one cares. They want what they want. So you actually have to take control over that and actually have a planning session and say, look, I have 13 meetings every 30 minutes. Where am I in this equation? And I guarantee you that the organization is not going to fail. We're not going to miss our objectives and our goals because you get 30 minutes in your day, okay, which is not enough. But, can you get an hour of every day? Because what type of a leader are you when you don't have time to actually reflect on the last session that you went into, plan for the next session that you're going into, understand the key takeaways so that you can get to the bottom line? That's execution. So otherwise, it's death by meetings and nothing ever gets done. And so that prioritization is not only for you as important for your personal sustainability, but it's important for the organization to ensure that they are actually getting things done. Right. And I'm sure that the shareholders and the customers and every stakeholder can appreciate a leader that is about execution and getting to done.
That is just brilliant. Like I'm doing backflips. I couldn't be more helpful.
Yeah.
And we will forever remember this episode of the Sabbath series as time to take a pee. I'm forever going to remember that.
I'm just being
what
real.
do you do that is fun, that is so out of the box, that is just, I mean, I know you had a rough couple of years, but what would generally be fun?
Think, it's like I don't let the smooth look fool you, but like I haven't had fun in a very long time. Like, what is fun, right? But I love spending time with my family, my kids, one on one or as a group, and that's family time. But most recently, I have been invited to an MMA fight. I met an MMA fighter. He and his girlfriend are fighters.
I didn't see that coming. Okay.
I know.
Neither did
This is
I.
a Sabbath episode unlike any other. Okay.
Listen, that was fun. The music was hype. The lights were going. People were, just going at it professionally. So I was like, I love this. This is fun.
I don't know what I expected you to say that you do for fun, but it for sure was not that.
Totally not that. So my husband's like, who are you? Where's my wife? What have you done with her? Because I'm like, there are different sides of us. And so like not knowing what fun is, rollerblading, bowling, those types of things. But MMA, Now that's fun.
You know, we really have nowhere else to go after that. So I just think on that, Rosilyn, I couldn't thank you so much for your insight, your wisdom. As always, for everyone listening, we love you, we appreciate you, and we thank you so much for joining us here on the Propel Women podcast. So we'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much for joining us today. Make sure to subscribe to this channel to get notified every time a new video is posted. We are so glad that you're here and look forward to seeing you next week. God bless you.